Because this is an ending, I'm going to start with a beginning. So this is the first iteration of my second play, Curious, that I'm sharing with you this evening. Is it any surprise I'm named after music's most irreverent form? Jazz. I'm jazz. That's jazz as in 1Z. And like my namesake, I was birthed in the belly of a revolution. Shout out to Shirley, my mum. Unlike my irreverent predecessor, the following is not improvised, but carefully plotted. Also, unlike my predecessor, I only have 2 instruments, body and voice. Men are trash. Oh. And a third one, wit. Anyway, I've trained these 3 weapons for 2 and a bit years, classically. Classical, as in Beethoven and his brethrens. Not big in those blokes. Classic, as in cadenzas and curtsies, not catching a wine and taking time. Classic, as in colonizer. Can I say that? I just did. Shade, but yes. Classic, like we're the ones who wrote this shit down and it's still around, so it must be important and true. Classic, like the other shit got burnt down, stolen and thrown away, but we're here to stay. Classic, as in the taste of a select few scholars, is this massive fucking planet, commensurate to or even bigger than the Atlantic. Classic, as in even bigger than the Atlantic, the fucking universe. Hence these texts being called universal. And the rest of us are just moons that orbit around said taste. Pause. Now, I have nothing against classical shit. In fact, I even like some of it. Oh, shite. Now, I have nothing against classical shit. In fact, I fucking love it. Shakespeare, Marlowe, Euripides. What I'm against is elitism. Matter of fact, I'm above it, beat. Is saying I'm above elitism elitist? I digress. Anyway, this all came to a head in the middle of our restoration project. I felt Jasmine, jazz, leave my body. I was on stage in rehearsals, but not on. I was there, but not there. There was a disconnect, a two-ness. It was like pretending to be someone I'm not, acting, but then there was this extra layer of pretense, pretending, over-pretending, over-pretending, a threeness. I felt like I was losing my mind. So I spoke to my counselor, and I was like, I'm beginning to hate acting. And she was like, but you're at drama school. And I was like, I know, that's kind of the problem. And then I ended up saying how doing this project and other things was on some level enjoyable. And the language was beautiful, but it felt like I was splitting myself in 2 to do it. Separating my body from my... And everything we do is just so white? I couldn't even get the fucking word out. She had to say it for me, and I wanted to scream because even in that moment, I was preserving her sanity, her comfort over mine. Classic. Confused, I picked up my shit, went home, went to bed, and trapped in an insomniac coma, lay in communion with the ceiling because I couldn't get this image out of my head. It was actually a line in Love for Love, our restoration play. I know the buxom black widow in the poultry. Buxom black widow. Buxom black. Black. As in a black woman in classical England. Now, I knew this was a thing. I'd heard of Dido Elizabeth Bell and seen the paintings, but this was in our play, meaning there was more than just one. And if there was her, this woman living enough for William Congreve to write about it, then is it possible that there was a black actress, pre-Ira Aldridge, busting her guts, getting the life squeezed out of her in a corset, like I was? So, at 3 a.m., I typed it into Google. And of course, the words being buxom, black, widow, porn arrived on my browser. I'm reminded of the first time I learnt to erase history when I was 14, bored on summer holiday and clicked on RedTube. 1 hour and 57 minutes of ecstasy, cum, sweat and tears, all erased in a heartbeat. A click, a breath, all of it gone. Untraceable lust. Except if you're like me and you know how to backlog. Trace the root and browser data, sift through countless records, archives, and small dives, and of course, that's how I found Celia Edline. Now, Celia was no adult star, but she was astronomical. From Mars, Greek goddess, she was mine. I rediscovered Celia at the back of the Black Cultural Archives in an old shriveled brown box on a strip of A6. 8th of August, 1728. Run away from her master at Blackheath, a Negro maid aged about 16 by the name of Celia Edline has several years to serve and speaks English well. She has a birthmark in the shape of a sickle on her left cheek, just under her eye. Whoever secures her and gives notice at the bar of the Jamaica Coffee House so that she shall be brought to justice shall have 2 guineas reward. But whoever entertains her shall be prosecuted with the utmost rigour, dickhead. As I was doing my research, an image popped up. Strolling Actresses in a Barn by Hogarth, 1737. In the image, there are 2 actresses that appear to be of African descent. Don't appear, are. And one of them has a scar on her left cheek, just under her eye. Celia. And one of them has a scar on her left cheek, just under her eye, in the shape of a sickle. Celia. This could not be coincidence. The black woman on the left was none other than Celia Edline. She ran away to become an actress. Celia Edline, Shakespeare dipped in chocolate. Celia Edline, black, classical, fantastical, shapeshifter. The first known black British actress, lived and performed in classical England just after Restoration. I was not obtuse, wearing corsets or speaking Congreve's words. I was there. I was there. I was there too. I'm Celia, born in Nigeria in 1712 and sold into slavery when I was 2. I was born a renegade, a runaway. I was not a slave, I was enslaved. I could do other things too. I could sing and I could move. The same year I run away, I see Colley Cibber at Lincoln Inn Fields in blackface as Othello. And as I see him on stage, I can't help but think, I can do a better job than him. I know much better what it is to be reviled. And I don't need to black up. And then I knew what I was born to do. Act, perform, transform, and I set my sights on one day playing Othello. So I run away, find freedom, live at the top of the Devil's Tavern, Fleet Street. Over the years, I understudy in Georgian troops, jump through every hoop to have a chance at hitting the stage. By day, I'm a jobbing actress, but by night, I perform in revues, dancing, stripping. They used to call me Black Treacle or Molasses because I'm sweet as I'm smooth. Then, in 1735, I get my big break off West End as Polly in the Beggar's Opera. I am described as excellent as to figure and speaking, but remarkably so as to singing. Then I join an all-female troupe and play Greek goddesses and get paid to wear nice bodices. And from time to time, I even like to cross-dress. But in 1737, after a performance of The Devil to Pay in Heaven, we are forced to disband because of the Licensing Act, restricting what could be said in theatre. No critiques of religion or too much disinhibition. But of course, Shakespeare was still allowed. A black Georgian, runaway slave, come actress, come stripper, who was therefore more sexually liberated than me. See, brief backstory. I'm still a virgin, by the skin of my teeth, or none. And holding on to it, this lust is like collapsing an eclipse into 2 fingertips. In my head, I'm the biggest foe being a combination of thought and hoe. But in reality, I'm not. I remember the first time I lost control of my body, my hands stiffening with ecstasy, jilting, tingling, toppling over with painful joy. Then a pool of sticky, wet regret. My best friend stole a vibrator from Ann Summers when I was 15 and gave it to me on my birthday as a joke, but I've been using it for real ever since. And because I'm Jasmine, I used to call my vibrator Aladdin. I love feeling my pheromones spike and the hum of my hormones as a whore moans. But the batteries are running out and the vibrator's humming dim. Hiding won't suffice. Not anymore. You see, sex has always been complex for me. As a girl, I always dreamt of being swept off my feet by someone tall, dark, and handsome. I always dreamt of the moment when my black rom-com would finally come, where I, 5'8" non-ingenue, who hasn't shaved her legs since secondary school, that's true, would finally be whisked off my feet. The moment where Taye Diggs would press my shoulder blades against the bookcase and kiss me passionately on my lips. I always dreamt of biceps. But then boobs, lips, tongues, hips, bums. And I was like, which one? I'm not gay. Gay Ellen DeGeneres, gay Will and Grace, gay an effeminate stereotype. I did used to stay up late to watch previews of the L Word, but everyone does that, right? No? Just me then? Oh. I still desire men. I spend summers suppressing impulses until I'm overcome. Am I a lesbian? Dyke, a slur that also refers to a natural or imposed slope, wall intended to block or hold back the waters of something inevitable. Water, river, ocean, sea. Somehow that feels more apt. This wanting to possess and be possessed and holding back, wanting to top and tail, impale and be impaled, man and woman, in between, bisexual, bisect, split in half. I'm not half of anything. I'm never equally anything, nor can I be split in two. So, what am I? Who am I? After the Licensing Act, it was difficult to find any immediate traces of Celia, but then I stumbled across these letters in the British Library, written by a woman called Rosamund Whiteley. Rosamund was the daughter of a rich British industrialist and slave owner. And in the first letter in March 1740, Rosamund describes watching a performance of The White Devil and being chained, transfixed by the actress. Her handwriting was kind of scruffy, but she describes her skin as being dun and dusky, i.e. brown. And there are only 3 female characters in the play, and one is Zanche, the black maid. Rosamund describes meeting her after the curtain call and hiding a blush. Sounds like she had a bit of a crush. And staring at Zanche's cheek, which had a crescent-shaped brand. Celia. The other letters hint at some kind of sordid sapphic affair. Rosamund calls Celia her sugarcane and describes her muscovado thighs. They even did weird shit like keep each other's pubic hair in chains and wear it around their necks. This Rosamund chick was whipped. Then, in 1742, there's a letter where she describes dressing her, Celia, in some type of suit for her engagement as Othello. This is incredible. They were in an interracial queer relationship in the 1740s, albeit secret. Celia forged an identity, a career, played her dream role in a colonial, parochial, sexist, slave-owning society. She was in control. But sometimes it's important not to be. 18. I say the words "I'm queer" in class. I don't know how it's going to land, but it does. It feels weird, but good. A few weeks later, I go to Pussy Palace with my friends, and I'm starting to feel whole. No, not whole. But the 2-ness, 3-ness, race, gender, sexuality, the 3 circles start to overlap and become one. I also realize that bi, the prefix, doesn't mean split. It just means 2. And I can be attracted to women, sometimes men and non-binary people, and that's fine too. Who knew that holding on to all that shit was so unbearably heavy? But then I feel the weight again. I hit a dead end. After those diaries from Rosamund Whiteley, Celia disappears without a trace from history. The next thing I find is in the National Archives. 2 things, actually. A kind of obituary, but not really. Something much more disturbing. A daguerreotype, a photo, and a scientific record, in this case of a dead corpse. Description, more, with a scar, sickle-like on left cheek. This was Celia, all right. Apparently, she was hung in 1749 after she went on the run when Rosamund's daddy discovered her illegitimate affair and hunted her down. And after she died of asphyxiation, her body was donated to scientists, and she was scattered, slathered across the Atlantic, tested upon in England and the Americas. Her corpse, cadaver, cut up into limbs, legs, head, forearm, finger, experimented on cross-continent. She was profiled in human zoos as proof that we were inferior. She justified capitalism, colonialism, slavery. Her head shape measured, thighs perused, rights abused. Being a woman, especially a black queer kind, is blood and guts. It's intestine. Fuck florals and ball gowns, it's balls. It's livers and kidneys and puke and mucus, ripping, tearing and shredding, red stain on linen bedding. It's shedding. There was only one thing left of her. Her heart. It had been incinerated, cremated. The urn kept in City of London's graveyard and crematorium. And I took it. I went with those ashes in my hand over the night's dull corpse, and I ran. Suddenly I knew what I had to do. I had to release her and let her ashes run wild and roam free. Her soul needed to rest in a place where she wouldn't turn in her sleep. Water, river, ocean, sea. I stand on the shore of the wide world, the Thames, and it's raining. And I watch the in-between purgatory of the mud moose, where the sand meets and marries the water. And I think of our heroine, sand's teeth, sand's eyes, sand's everything. Ripped to shreds, discarded, left for dead. One limb here and one limb there. I realize I want to bury her within myself, want her to live with me. Then I realize all I can do is write a new legacy, build new buildings and foundations for others to stand on. We can't lay others to rest within ourselves, untangle histories only to keep them buried in our own mouths. Stories must be released, either by force or by fire. The fog must be cleared. Narrative is the gift my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. I held her and felt her move, and then I let her go, and she spoke. Soft you, a word or two before you go. I have done the state some service, and they note. No more of that. I pray you, in your letters, when you shall these unlucky deeds relate, speak of me as I am, nothing extenuate. Who will preserve my history? Keep my diaries? Will my words shatter into ash, crash and burn? I don't want to die unsung. I don't want to die with my song stuck in my throat. Unsung song, leg trapped in bow, branch, or worse. Have the truth, my words mangled, tangled, spelt backwards, name jumbled, things scrambled, beginnings made endings, and middles riddles. I don't want to die a tragic case. I don't want to end up at the back of a bookcase or archives, filed, hid, bones, relics, head shrunken and worn around necks. I don't want to have to be made up like she was. I made her up. Celia Edline's made up. Plot twist. Everything. The running away to be an actress, Rosamund Whiteley, her sexuality. Because when I went to look and see, there was next to nothing. No one like me. On our way back from a school trip to Italy in second year, me and my classmate Kalunji, the only other black person in my year, was stopped specially by a border official because he needed to check the authenticity and validity of our passports, our Britishness. Whilst two of our white counterparts walked through security without even a glance at their papers. We were never considered a part of this country, were we? Not even the fucking EU. For those of us who are always asked to consider the specific as universal, to approximate ourselves in the face of an image that doesn't resemble our own, to look in a mirror that obscures, eclipses, and shrouds, rather than illuminate or at least reflect. For those of us who stood in the wings of history, on our toes, waiting to enter, but never quite got our chance. For those of us whose histories were screwed up, burnt, tossed, evaporated, scattered, condensed, elided, eroded, we are not ashen or dust. We are rocks, cultural pillars, invisible Yet we hold up towers and structures. For those of us who shut up in classrooms, who wondered how dark the dark lady really was, who refused to assume, foraged through footnotes, and never gave up on the looking glass. For those of us who must call on the imagined and fiction in pursuit of truth, buried or otherwise. Out of misery came material. Out of pain came poetry. Out of trauma, truth. I'm here, standing, alive. Are you? Thank you.